If anyone wants to sort of clarify what transmission is between teacher and student and get rid of the hierarchy of it and get rid of the dynamics of the words, it's just love, period. And it's love that is not personal in a sense. It embraces the personal, but goes way beyond. And it's not coming from me. It obviously comes through me. And in that regard, we're all channels of love. We often mistake it for personal, but really it's not. It's just, it's a flow. It's pretty much the core cosmic moment of existence. Before anything else, there's love. And that's my experience of it. I can't speak to you of truth. I can only tell you what I feel. So open up, feel it. It feels good. It just feels good to be loved and to have this energy want to embrace you for who you are and, in a way, prepare you to be a channel for that transmission as well, to be able to love people. It's really not a big deal, and yet it's at the core of existence. It's why we're here. And we're, in a way, here to serve that capacity. The more we can do it, the better. It's not to control, it's not to dominate, it's not to have personal investment in it. It's just to be that. And when you are that, you will feel this exquisite sense of presence that makes your own inner life worth everything. So sit still, allow yourself to be, if you will, touched by something very ephemeral and yet very real and very powerful. Let it speak to you, let it open you, let it dialogue with you, and let it take you to wherever it wants to take you or wherever you want to or feel you need to go. Again, thank you for showing up. I'm always grateful to have anybody to share this with. I want to give a rather personal talk and excuse all of you who don't want to listen. You can all turn off. You're welcome to go to bigger and better things. Those of you who stay around, let me just say I have stuff to say and even a favor to ask. So I will move forward with that. In a cosmic sense, there's a great old line that says, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I really buy that in many, many ways. And so many people think of spiritual work as quid pro quo. If I do this, the God will do that, the universe will do this. And there's some kind of payback reward for being a good person, for following the directions of the cosmos, if you will, for serving all of the various things we think of. But if you think there's a payback that's going to come to you directly, let me assuage you. That's not assuage is the wrong word. Let me persuade you that it's not like that. The universe is not there to serve you. It's ultimately there to use you to find joy and pleasure in your being, and ultimately to remove you from this plane of existence. It's kind of an odd arrangement. And you will have a ride through all of this that will be good and bad, fun and not so fun. It will just keep happening, as you all know. I have nothing here that's new. But sometimes life just throws a lot at you at the same time. And the first time I really understood this was when my play, The Musical Ghost, was opening on Broadway, and we were having a preview primarily for critics. It was a big audience, but critics were primarily there. And if anything needed to be perfect, it was that night. And I came toward the end and I stood in the back just trying to feel the crowd and how everybody was reacting to the show and hoping that it would be, well reviewed and that it would go on to be a huge hit and all that stuff that one wants in life and hopes one gets. And right toward the end of the second act, in the really emotional part of the show, the entire infrastructure of the play broke down. The lights went off, the screens didn't work, everything fell apart. And they had to take a 20-minute intermission in the emotional core of the show to fix things. And all the critics were in the auditorium, and I could just feel them, writing stuff down. And I was like humiliated, terrified, punished. It felt so awful, so terrible. And I didn't know why. It was like a why me God moment. And and I didn't know how to handle it. It was so massive because I knew we were going to get bad reviews and my whole life was going to be affected by that moment. It just felt really terrible. But I'm walking home through Times Square, home meaning the hotel we're staying at, prepared to tell Blanche about the disaster that's occurred and all the unfolding of that. And suddenly I sensed God laughing. It was God laughing at me. You think you know what you're going to get. You think you know what I have in store for you. You think you know how this is all going to play out. Ha ha ha. It was like my Uncle Al laughing. He always told terrible jokes and everybody went, ha ha ha. But they were terrible. And I felt really betrayed on some level. But on the other hand, I felt in my place that, that God, if you want to have a duality here, was telling me, I am not the center of the universe. I am a molecule. And if anything, I am going to be ultimately removed from the equation. And it didn't matter what the reviews were. It didn't matter whether I was loved or hated or whatever. It was just part of what was happening. And a lot of people were impacted by that, not just me. And and I had to go to a place inside where I went, thy will be done. It doesn't matter. It was a good training ground. And you think once you've gone through that, you're done and you figured it out and you're going to be fine. But oddly, the last few weeks and this week in particular have been assaultive in a way. And in a certain sense, an incredibly amazing test of 60 plus years of spiritual practice and meditation. And I decided I would share it. I didn't know if I should, go through the whole thing, but I just wanted to express a few things that come out of this kind of experience. Trying to tell you how it all begins. I actually have a video, and I will show it to you. And it's called The Invasion. Let me see if I can put it up there. I can't even see if it's on the screen. Are you able to see anything, guys? These are gypsy moths in caterpillar form crawling up my house. There are about 150 billion of them on my property, and this is just our property. And they go into the trees and eat all the leaves, and the trees are denuded by these guys. They drop shit all over the place. So if you're outside standing around, you will feel this raining upon you. They drop themselves, they create webs so they can get onto your skin. So I'm just showing you, that's just an idea of the apocalyptic announcing itself in the world. Often when they get on your skin, and we had a landscape designer out here trying to help us with the design on the house who suddenly got these caterpillars on her. And I don't know if you can see my hand. I am itching on all levels. I'm not sure it's from the caterpillars, but it is the kind of itch that keeps you up all night. And so that is happening all around me, and not just me. It's the whole area. Everybody is having this attack of bugs, and it happens for 3 years in a row, and then goes away supposedly for 10, and then it comes back again. So this has been going on for quite a while. But it means that when you go outside into this beautiful spring weather, you have to go into the world that's in a way against you. That's a battlefield of some kind, and it's very it's problem. It's assaultive. So I throw that out to you. All of you know that I've published my book, and and I'm very grateful to have done it. I wrote this book for my grandchildren. The editors of the book and the publisher all would like to make some money back from the book. I don't have a need for that, but I would like to serve their need, which I think is real and important. So of course, we're selling the book on Amazon. And one of the editors asked if I would, the publisher actually asked if I would do some interviews. And I said, okay, sure. And I did an interview the other day for The Guardian, which is, a big newspaper from England and worldwide, really. And it was a wonderful interview with a guy who I really loved. I mean, I really felt enormously connected to him, and it was beautiful. It went on for an hour and a half. But the article came out the other day, and it was completely focused on my having been, not having, being gay in my life and having hidden it for 70, however many years, and that had come out, and it was completely focused on that part of my life. Very little about the spiritual and some about the Hollywood, stuff. And not that I was exactly blindsided, but I just went, really? Is that how I want to be presented to the world? I had absolutely nothing I could say about it. It's out there in the world. And I had to go, okay. But it was very disturbing in a way that my whole being would be perceived through that simple lens. And most of you who've heard my coming out talk about 3 years ago know this. Some of you are hearing it for the first time. And if it's a surprise or a shock, I apologize. It's the very third sentence of my book. So anybody who doesn't know me and reads the book will know, oops, wow, I didn't know that. And I've actually had feedback like that from cousins and all these people who I had never shared this with people for many reasons, one of which is it was not an active part of my life. It was a inner being. But it was the first thing I told Blanche the day I met her, so I never betrayed her on that level. I said, God brought us together, which is a long story. It's in the book if you want to read it, but it really was an arranged marriage in a way, and there was no hidden truths in it. And Blanche accepted me as I was, and luckily, sex was good for us, so it didn't really register. But it is a part of my being. I just didn't think it was the one to be presented to the whole world, which is a very, very odd experience. So then yesterday, we went to a party. We were going to a party with a lot of people who we see once a year at this particular gathering. Really sweet, wonderful people we used to know when we lived in Rhinebeck. And they're very wonderful, but I honestly had to go through all of my lists of names because I couldn't remember anybody. My brain was just not cognating everybody's names anymore. And Blanche and I are both going through that kind of a loss together. So I've described it here before, but this was awkward because we were going to a gathering. And just before we were going out the door, I get an email about a review I got on Amazon. And so I look at the review, and it is from a woman who wrote to me about a week and a half ago about her sister having died, but that I had destroyed her life, that she had come to class 17 years ago. I have no recollection at all about who this person is, but somehow this meditation and Rudy and Swami Nityananda and all the stuff we do takes over souls of people's souls and destroys them. I had never been in all my life attacked by anybody, especially for this work. And I just thought, whew, that is, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to respond to that and didn't. I just left it alone. But I did not know it would then be put into a review on Amazon for large consumption. And there's not a lot you can do in getting things off of Amazon. The one thing I'm told you can do is report it. You go to Amazon and push report, and then just go inappropriate. This is inappropriate. And I guess I'm going to request if any of you want to do me a favor, go to Amazon. If you're Amazon followers, go to the book itself, which is called It's Only a Movie, and then go down and go report. That would be probably helpful. It may get it off the site. But that hit me on the way over to this party that we're going to. And this is usually an outdoor party, but it couldn't be an outdoor party because it was raining caterpillars. And the caterpillars shit everywhere. So we had to move everybody indoors. Everyone had to go indoors. And I'm trying to remember everybody's names. And as I'm walking up to the house carrying the salad Blanche made, she looks at me and goes, "Oh my God." And my pants had split open in the back. So my underwear is completely exposed. And I'm going into this gathering. And I have no idea how to handle this situation. So if you want to talk about God laughing, I never felt more laughed at ever in my life as that moment. It's like everything raining down, from caterpillars to reviews on Amazon to uh, just pants splitting down the back. That was, and the great thing about it, I have to say, the great thing is I could not stop from smiling. I went, "Thy will be done." I don't understand thy will. I don't understand its purpose in any of this, but I just went to the party. Luckily, the host was there, and I said, "Can I borrow a pair of your pants?" He said, "Sure." Luckily, they fit. So I put on a pair of shorts and I wore them for the whole party, and I was not exposed to the larger morass of people looking at me whose names I couldn't remember. Although I did, memory came back pretty much for most of us. And interestingly, half of them couldn't remember my name. This is what happens when you go to parties where you've known people for so long and you're all turning 80 to 90. It's really fascinating. And I wish all of you the opportunity to see what that's like. It's really an astounding event. But I want to throw in a few other little elements into this because I think they're meaningful and important. One is the book. And I said to myself, who really is ever going to read this book? I didn't know. In a way, I kind of don't care. I really wrote it for my grandchildren. I wanted them to have a memory that I don't have of my grandparents. And in fact, that got reinforced just the other night. I had a dream. I was at a party, perhaps like the one I just went to, and my grandfather appeared, my grandpa Abe. And I hadn't seen him in decades, and he was dead, obviously. But he just wanted to talk. And he just wanted to talk man to man. He just wanted to say all the things that he could not have said as a grandfather, as a hierarchical figure. And we just started having this man to man conversation that was so powerful and so anointing in a way. It just felt so good. And then he started to have a heart attack or something, and he died right in front of me, and he passed away. But I had that moment. I had that moment with my grandfather that I didn't have in real life, that the universe brought me. And I was so grateful to meet him as a man, as a person. So dream life can be really potent in our existence. I got an email, no, actually, it was a phone call from someone, a cousin really, who had been suffering from depression since the death of her husband, who was my cousin, and and had not been able to get out from underneath the sense of depression for the past 5 years. I did not know about that. But she said, "I needed to call you and tell you this. I was reading your book. I really loved your book. When I got to the last page and I turned the page, my depression lifted for the first time in 5 years." And I went, ah. I've had these experiences before in the Hollywood scheme of things. Like, I think I've shared this story so many times, but when I did the movie My Life, which got the worst reviews ever, and they weren't personal about me really, although I was writer director, they were horrible reviews, and that was a terrible moment. But I'll repeat the story quickly because it was so instructive. A woman comes up to me several months after the movie came out, after the terrible reviews, and says, I believe you wrote the movie of my life. And I said, yes, I did. She said, I need to tell you a story. My husband died 3 years ago, and my 10-year-old son and I never were able to talk about it. She said, I just found out I have terminal cancer. I wasn't sure how I was going to share this. And she said, we went to see this movie, my son and I, called My Life. And he started sobbing and just sobbing. And we went home, and he sat down on my lap, and we talked for the first time since his dad's passing. And she said, we were able to have the dialogue that I needed to have to leave this world. And I went, oh, and I suddenly understood that I had made the movie for her. I'd not, it wasn't for millions of people, it was for her. And that my book, if nobody reads it at all, even my grandchildren, if nobody reads it, this moment of lifting depression after 5 years is enough. And there is something really important in that. And I will give you one more story because it happened right after the article came out in The Guardian. And I was flummoxed with, like, why am I presented to the world through this very narrow, strange lens? And this person wrote me, found me online, and wrote me and said, I read the article in The Guardian, and it changed my life. Thank you. It allowed me to be myself. It allowed me to come into the world as who I am. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, one person, and it was like, enough, done. There's an old Jewish ideal statement that if you change one person, you change the world. And I really believe that. And I think if this turns into a spiritual dialogue of any sort, or monologue on my part, it's to state that if you change one person, if you help one person, if you love one person, if you share with one person, you change the world. You save the world. It doesn't need to be more. You don't have to think about the masses. You don't have to think about all the people you tutor, all the people you teach, all the people you do anything with. Just one. Just one. If there are more, then great. It's, I mean, it's not a numbers contest. It never has been for me. And I have really arrived at a place where I can start, and not only start, but I'm in process of letting go of everything, just really literally everything. The only reason I appear here weekly is because, one, I love you guys, and the universe loves you more than I do. And it just says, show up, show up. And I go, okay, okay. And this thing that's happening, yesterday was so painful with the letter from this woman whose sister I had destroyed her soul, and then to go public with that is so painful. And yet the universe is, in a sense, laughing at me. It's going, okay. I don't know how to handle any of it. I don't know what the right response is. I don't know if I want to make dialogue and contact with somebody who's misguided in that regard. I don't think I've destroyed souls. And if I have, God bless, I have not. That's not what Rudy and I, or this whole ancient practice of Kundalini yoga sets out to do. It's got a different dimensionality to it. But, all I can tell you is you follow your path as best as you can. You try to serve other people on that path. You try to be kind. You try to offer your love and your help to everyone around you. That is the journey. That's the journey. The journey can, if you want, teach you all sorts of amazing things about how the universe, the Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, Muslim religions document it all and get it all on paper. All that's washing away from me. It's just washing away, and I don't miss it. It's too big. It's too miraculous. It's too beyond comprehension. It simply is, and we are in it. And there is a force that is dynamic in each of us if you can open to that force. And it is both loving and protective, and it couldn't care less. It's really beyond comprehension on every level. This week was a really difficult week. I didn't tell you that my crown fell out of my mouth, and then here's another sweet story. The crown fell out of my mouth on Friday night on a 3-day holiday weekend, and I'm going, it was really painful. And I called the dentist that I go to. They had an emergency line, and she said, "Well, come on over. I'll put your crown back." And she did. She just drove over and put my crown back. And it's like those moments of kindness, of simplicity. There's your struggle, your suffering, and somebody comes and helps. It can keep going on like that, but you can be the vessel of that help. And this doctor, Dr. Bell, who came back on the holiday weekend to put my crown in, was just heart-opening for me. It was like so extraordinary. We can live like that. We can be of service to each other. We can help people. We can go out of our way to do something kind to people. So I know I say these things week by week by week, and I really I don't know where more to take it. I'm going to keep taking it as long as you start showing, if you show up and you want to hear this again and again and again and again. It, for me, it never gets boring, to be honest. But if it gets boring for you, don't come. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need an audience. I don't need anybody, but I am so wired into this love that wants to go to you that if you need it, come. It will just come. It will just be there. I have never experienced in my life anything like this love that the universe has for you. I filter into the equation as a kind of, as a vessel or a hose, for watering the garden. I filter into it, but I'm not made special. And I'm telling you, we have a week like I just had, and you're not special. When your pants tear on the way into a party with everybody, they're not making you, they're not looking out for you. The best thing that came out of that, honestly, is surrender. Surrender. Accept whatever is happening. The world is doing whatever it's doing. The caterpillars and the gypsy moths are going to be all over, and the trees will be deflowered, and my life will at some point be over. And I will tell you, one of the great things that's happening with all this discomfort and suffering that keeps you up all night is there's something inside you that goes, okay, okay. It's not, I'm not new to this path. Every human being is on this path. We are all heading into exactly what I'm experiencing, but on your own terms and with your body and with your surroundings. And you guys, a lot of you are in California, you don't have gypsy moths, but you've got your own stuff. We all have stuff. It's going to be like this forever until I mean, I don't understand the nature of where humanity goes or what life is about or why we were manifested in the first place. I have no clue. The closest I come to a clue about why, and I've shared this multiple times, is in the total emptiness that I sometimes experience in my travels, in my day-to-day life, in my sitting quietude, is one thing. The first and primary thing that rises up in the middle of nothingness and emptiness and meaninglessness and everything else is love. Love. You tell me why it comes first, why it's so powerful, why it's there, why it creates this manifested world. And trust me, this manifested world is not just like a snap of the fingers. Something massive wanted this to be and wanted you to be in it. Even though it's going to give you gypsy moths and itchy skin and torn pants, it wants you in this place. And I can only tell you from my experience, don't believe me if you don't want to, it loves you. It loves you beyond any description I can possibly give. It loves you. So I guess that's my message, to share that with you and tell you you're loved. The world's going to do weird things to you. God is going to laugh at you. You're going to either share the laugh or you're going to go, why me, God? And oh, this is so terrible and I'm being so singled out. Nobody's singled out. Nobody. Everybody goes through this. Everybody. One way or another, especially as you get to the 80 mark and you further, it's really not comfortable. It's not comfortable. And your pants will split and people will laugh at you and people will present you in the wrong way and will say that you've destroyed their soul. I can't remember destroying anybody's soul. But if I did, I truly apologize. This person's no longer here, but their sister is enraged with me. I don't know if I could ever say anything that would assuage that, but all I can do, and I'll go back to earlier things, if you guys want to go on Amazon and go to the review that is, I think, the only 1-star review, and say report inaccurate, that would help me. It would help maybe get it off the site. You don't have to. I never ever ask people to do anything on that level, but the publisher said, if you can do that, it would be helpful. So I've done it. Anyway, I said this would be personal. It was, it is. I love you all. I really do love you all. You can forget you listened to any of this or erase it or whatever you want to do. But all I can say is, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. If you continue to show up and be here, so will I. That's all I know. I love you. Ellen, I see you want to say something.
I have a question. I really think David just finished reading a book about death, and it's his first spiritual book ever that his daughter Natalie gave us, who's living in the top of the Himalayas and is in love. So that's a long story. How do you find? How do you find? When does he find this particular talk very interesting? So how do I find it? Does it go on immediately, or is there
okay, no, it's on YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube under my name, Bruce Joel Rubin, meditation.
And does it go up right after this, or is there a time?
No, the person who normally puts it up is traveling to California from Boston today, so it'll probably be up tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, and
awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know David from the YMCA back, was it 30, however many years ago, and love him so much, Tell him I say hi, tell him I'm glad he's reading books about that open him up to subjects, that may be uncomfortable, but have something to do with future, inevitable future. And
well, both my kids, my son got separated, and it was like lightning struck, and now he's this spiritual being out of nowhere, and it's just the most awesome thing in the world.
I call that initiation, and it usually comes from suffering, and suffering opens us up to the looking inward.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of the completion of who we are as people, because
it's just so exciting.
Yeah, well, tell him I send my love. I'm very impressed by that. And yeah, it's exciting in a way, because if you don't make sense of this journey on some level, or make peace with it, or open up to the inevitability of it, suffering is much greater. And why me, God becomes the expression of so many people, but it's like there's an alternative to that. If you can begin to understand that the outer is outer, but there is an inner, and they're balancing each other, and they are equal. And if you're living in the unequal part of your life, meaning just on the outer, you're not balanced, and there's a lack of harmony, and there's a lack of sympathy for other people, and it's great suffering. So I'm glad he's finding his way there, but he's always had a big heart. Your husband's always had a big heart. So he'll be fine. I'm grateful to hear that. Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Bruce?
Yes.
Mr. Bruce, hi, it's Emma.
Oh, Emma, hi.
Yeah.
I'm on another screen, but I'll have to go over. Okay, hi, Emma.
Hello, from Athens. Why do you even bother getting the frequency of that woman that wrote this comment? Obviously, she's in another frequency, and she doesn't know that nobody has the power to do anything to anybody.
Maybe you should write her. I don't know that
I can go and write. I mean, I'll check on it, because everybody is responsible for themselves. Nobody has the power to do anything to anybody.
I would love to make sure that. I don't know this woman, and I don't remember her sister at all. I was in a
you shouldn't even been bothered by it. I mean, you are in a different
no, not well, obviously I'm not.
Yes.
I feel badly about it, and forgetting students.
But it's their journey. And obviously, it's not the one who died who wrote to you. It's somebody else who, how cuckoo she is,
I don't want to judge on any level, and I'm not sure the response.
Yeah, it's not about judgment. It's about she has her own journey.
I'm probably not going to do anything other than ask you and you're far away, but to go to Amazon and go report not accurate. That's all I'm asking, and we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to respond.
Yeah, no, I'm not just saying. I mean, it's good to be out of your comments, but in a way, these people, and also when you're exposed, everybody can have their own conclusions.
Emma, I agree with you completely. Thank you.
And also, even for the article, I mean, okay, who cares? And it's not one person's life you changed. it's so many million people that obviously got excited that they read this, but they don't know you and they're not going to call you.
I have accepted that for a very long time. Thank you.
So anyway, I'm
Yes,
just
I
having a
get,
small discussion, it's
you
for
know,
fun.
when I see you, we're talking person. Okay, thank you. Anybody else, or have we come to the end of all this? Yeah,
Yeah.
Sean.
You started out the meditation talking about the love was universal. And I wanted to know the connection between the universal and the personal love, because we do think of love as personal, like your love for Blanche. Is it a mix of the universal and personal? Is it a mix of the Bruce part, or
Ask Mark.
where?
Mark,
I do, so I want to hear what you say.
uh,
If it's the same.
it's a singularity. It's one thing.
Yeah.
It's one thing. I mean, there's the ocean, there's water in the ground, there's water that comes through the tap, and there's a little glass of water that you just drink. It's all one thing. One thing. Is the water that you drink different than the ocean? Well, it's not as salty. It's purified on some level, but it's all part of the oceanic reality of that thing that comes from the core of our reality, which is what I tried to talk about earlier, this idea of love at the center. I cannot express how strongly that speaks to me. And when I see you and Mark, and my heart goes like that, which it does every time, all I can tell you is that love has a universal aspect, an oceanic aspect, and it gets filtered through the system. And I turn on the spigot and boom, it goes to you. Is it just the spigot? Is it Bruce? Or is it the ocean? Or is it all one? And in my mind, it's all one. It all flows through. And it's so extraordinary. I mean, just like taking a glass of water when you're thirsty or when you're really thirsty, it's like, who knew that the whole of the planetary system and the ocean that it created and the flowing of water through the ground and up through the wells and into our system of our house, and then we drink it when we're really in need. Poof! What is that? What is that? And what happens when it all goes away? Because it will. What happens when there's not enough to give? When the outer form of it doesn't provide? Well, my thinking is, and I may be wrong because I don't want to pontificate about it, but the inner well never dries up. The inner well is never missing. And the nourishment that you need from the deepest part of your being is, I sense, available in ways that are incomprehensible to the human mind. But they're there, and they are through your meditative quietude and simplicity and still pointedness, you can dig down into that space and go, whoa. And you really will trust it. You really trust it because it's clearly there and it keeps coming. The only time it doesn't come is when it wants you to go deeper. It wants you to dig deeper, become more part of the totality. And when you get smug or self-centered or think that, oh, I've got it and all that, it's going to go, nope, deeper, deeper. And that's my journey. It's constantly going deeper, finding this even more unbelievable expanse of everything. And then I go, oh, wow, like I have it. And then it goes, nope. And it takes it away again. And it's doing it over and over in a way that makes me stop grasping, stop thinking I have it, stop thinking there's a me and an it, and just period, whatever that is. And at the very last moment of your life, however that may transpire, it's going to bring you, I think, to that space. It may do it in a dramatic way, which is, the Jacob's Ladder movie of, having to go through your personal Tibetan Book of the Dead journey, the Bardo Todol. You may have to do that, but you may also get that done in your lifetime. So when the moment comes, which is what I think all of us are in training for, and they take away everything, there's no water left, it's burning hot, everything is suffering, everything is difficult, you will go into this space inside and go, yes. I think it's kind of what I'm aiming at. It's what I feel I'm being trained for. And I'm sharing that with people because I've been told to do that. And I can't give you any bigger picture of it than that because it's so simple. It's so simple. Allow yourself to become nothing and discover the everything that exists in that. beyond belief, beyond understanding. Okay, that answer? Okay. Anybody else, or this going on way too long? Yeah, way too long. I love you all. Thank you for coming. We will we will continue this next week with the with New York. Hey, Anne, I just saw you. We'll continue next week. As you know, if I'm still here, if the trees are standing and all of that, who knows? Who knows? But I love you all, and I really thank you for being here. And ciao.